step into the next level. Timeless game every day of the week. Could tell you how to level up your spirit and be success driven and mind strong. Get your finances right, get your grind on. You know there's power in the stories. Tune in, this the valor of the true man. Success blueprint. The success blueprint. The success blueprint. You're looking for the blueprint.
All right, welcome back to the Success Blueprint, our Prosperous Eight series, where we're walking through 8 pillars of what a truly successful life looks like, not just financially, but spiritually, relationally, and even purposefully, right? So this is episode 8, our final pillar, talking about effect and impact, right? And this is where everything that we've talked about moves from beyond just personal growth to start producing an external transformation in our life, right? And I like to think of it this way. Purpose is internal, impact is external. Our calling is received, our impact is delivered. Growth is personal, but impact is multiplied, right? So I am Mike Whitaker, the man of valor, and we have Jaime, the financial enabler. And man, we're your host and we're excited about this thing. So let's dive into this thing. And I have a question for you just out the gate, right? What will exist differently because you lived, Jaime?
What will exist differently? Man, I would say the biggest thing that I have right now would be the legacy that my grandfather created. That's something that I am thinking a lot about because I don't believe a lot of my family expanded his legacy as well as I believe they should have. One of the things that I want to have effect on is that his legacy continues, that the great things that he built continue. Not just, and again, that's just a byproduct of my business. So I want to expand what he did. I would say that to me is huge right now.
I love that. I love that. Thinking about the building on what our parents left us, right? Which is beautiful because it's not common to even being left anything in our day and age, right? So that's awesome. Okay. I had to ask you that question to start, but here's my next one for you. What is success? Is success worth anything if it ends with you? Is it worth anything if it ends with you?
No. Because it's like, that is like saying, I was a great parent. How was your dad? And my dad was blah. Then it's like, it's just opinion, right? So the success has to continue on in some way, right? And I think that's and I liked what you just asked that because then has to be external, right? And I think, again, not being a parent, but now during an analogy, as I think about it, you're really not a great parent if you think you're a great parent. You're a great parent if your kids thought you were a great parent at some point. You know, it's like, or in the results show. But if we just think we're something, then that might not be true, right? It might just be bias.
Yeah. Delusion.
Right. Yeah. Illusion. That's the right word. Yeah. So yeah, definitely it has to be beyond self. And I think that you and I have talked a lot about that. Like, what is the beyond us legacy that we have? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you say that, it makes me think like, effect is what happens around you, but the impact is what happens because of you. You know what I mean? Like our environment has a lot to do with it, the things that affect us. But the impact we make is how do we help better everything else because of who we are, right? What brings that out? You know what I mean? It's definitely that's not success if it ends with me. It cannot be, right? That means I'm not really I'm not impacting the world in the way that I want to, that I'm led to, that I'm supposed to. So it's really good. Effect is also temporary while impact is lasting. You know what I mean? Like it's something that goes on and on and on for forever. So really good.
Yeah. And with that, if success has to go beyond us, right? And I think that I know the answer is like, we have to leave a legacy. Right? So let's play into, I know you're building a legacy. Why do you think so many people are so focused on just building or living a life, not having a legacy and effect?
I think a lot of it has to do with environment, who we're around, our circle, knowing our purpose. A lot of us, and it goes back to identity. It's this thing. I love this thing because it goes through our whole, this is really the culmination of everything we've been talking about because it goes back to identity and who we know we are and where we're supposed to be headed. right? So that's why I think people have that. Why it's a struggle for us to look beyond who we are today. Man, I'm barely surviving myself with the economy and everything that I'm doing and trying to provide for my family and working and can't find enough time to do these things. How do I really get after purpose if I got to worry about the lights? If I have to worry about, how the bill is going to be paid, feeding the family and getting my kids to this sport or that sport, and I really want to give my kids more than what I had. All of those things, right? So it's becomes tough to step back and say, okay, am I? All of us are busy, but am I productive? And is that production giving me the opportunity to reach purpose, to have the goals and the dreams and the lifestyle that I want, to have the impact? And let me say this: not everybody's like you and I that want to have an impact on the world. That's okay. How can you have an impact in the community, in your family, in your church, on your job, with your kids? Like those, you can be a very impactful man or woman just in your own home, and the results show. However, you just have to look at where are we headed. And Candace and I have this thing for our kids. We always we say this: we're not raising good children. The kids are going to make mistakes. We're raising contributing adults to
Oh,
society, right? We don't want to just have good kids because every kid's gonna screw up. We all screw up. I'm still a kid. I screw up all the time, right? To be honest. Now, but we want to raise children that have that know purpose, that are going to be contributing to society in a great way. That's not going to be out here committing crimes and taking, you know what I mean? Like take, and not after that. So to me, that impact is huge, and the effect that we have is huge when I am able to look outside of me. What is the saying? If I help other people accomplish their dreams, mine automatically come true. Right. And that's what I think, that a lot of us are so focused on us, on me, and how can I make it work? And right now, the small things and the simple things, what did one of our mentors say? Most of us are looking out for our kids today instead of their tomorrow. Right. The 20 years version of them. They're so what that they got their, they're not going to remember half the stuff that we do for them anyway. They're going to understand the sacrifices. And I'll tell y'all from my time being working with youth, all of them, male, female, black, white, Asian, didn't matter. Right. All of them said the same thing. My parents gave me a great life, but what I wanted was time with them.
hmm.
So I'd rather have time and have that impact there and understand what they were doing and why they were doing it than I did being able to buy Jordans or whatever shoes or go on all the vacations. None of that mattered because I didn't even know who my dad was, didn't know who my mom was. That impact is more important.
And that it makes me think of what's your take on this? That when people raise good kids, is so that the parents have a good report card. When it's not, it never really was about you having a good report card. It was about them having their own good report card when they have control over it
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
future,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that makes me think sports. So my son was playing baseball for a while. My daughter plays softball for a little bit. And I wanted them to be so good, right? Of course, who doesn't? I love baseball, natural sport for me. We play basketball. My wife did too. So we wanted our kids to play sports so bad. And they turned out to just not be into it, like at all. It's just not their thing. Now, my son does jujitsu now. My daughter's in the flag corps in high school. So she does some kind of thing. So, they're doing something, which is great. Love that. But I was almost like, man, like all of this athleticism inside them, and they don't have no desire to do this. And I
Damn.
heard somebody say, yeah, but are you wanting them to do that for their last name or for their first name? And I was like, was it for me? Because their last name associated to me, or is it for their first name? And I was like,
Dang.
damn, it hit hard, right? It hit me hard because I'm like, dang, bro, I don't want my kids to do it because of my last name. Like, you out there representing us. No. Now, me and my son got the same first name, but however, we're not the same person.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, dang. So I had to chill, take a chill pill, step back. That's why I'm good with the jujitsu. That's why I'm good with the flat. You're gonna just do something that you enjoy. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter,
And
right?
there's so many, I mean, we hear this story so often of like, my dad wanted me to be a doctor. My dad wanted me to be an engineer. My mom, blah, 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 blah. But you rarely hear like my dad supported me to become, which actually, now thinking about it, like Nicole with her Taekwondo, she was supported to become.
Mm-hmm.
She was not, I don't recall the story very well right now, but I'm pretty sure she wanted those things. And I think that is a much better story that our kids can tell, that like my dad fought for me to achieve the thing we wanted, which hopefully it's cool and not like nothing against gamers, right? But I don't think it's not the greatest future, right? But I think there's much more where we can support our kids to become what they want to become, the
Yeah,
men and women they want to be.
well, that's good. That's good. But let me ask you this: Let's think about it from the faith and responsibility perspective, right? Why do scriptures connect blessings and responsibility?
Man, since you asked this, and for sake of, in my naivety in the subject, I would say that it's the idea that like discipline gives freedom, right? We cannot be blessed if we're not responsible. We
Hmm.
must abide to receive blessing. And I'll say that that is only because we already received the greatest blessing by doing nothing,
Sure.
right? The most important thing is already done deal, right? Now, to get more blessing, we have to abide. With that, we don't know what the blessing, uh, sorry, it's harder for us to figure out what our blessing is going to be. You and I may be blessed financially, right? Other people may be blessed with musical talent, whatever the blessing may be. It may take a longer path as long as we're responsible with our blessing or with our abilities. And the other part to that is there's nothing saying that we can't have it all. And I think I've been really struggling with this idea of responsibility and blessing. Like there's a lot of mega church pastors that get a lot of bad gouge, by size of church and their prosperity stuff. And then I got thinking, it's like, let's say I don't like these guys, but are really all those people in that room idiots? And I'm like, let's say 10% are. Hey, let's say 50% are, but it's not all of them. So
Hmm.
what did this person do with their abilities, and they were responsible and diligent, and are they going to be able to maintain it for longevity?
Yeah.
Because what I've learned, if a spiritual leader, the bigger he gets, he's probably going to face even more temptation, financial, emotional, lust, whatever. It is a feat to overcome it over and over and over, and hopefully they pass and nothing bad ever comes out, because we don't know their dark side,
Sure.
right? Or the family handled it with so much maturity that nobody knows, which that's a whole nother level of art, right? But
Hmm.
to be blessed, we must be responsible,
Yeah.
right? We must be. And again, that's separating, because there's nothing we can do to be saved. We're saved, so we must be responsible. And maybe as a part of that, thank you.
Yeah.
uh and
That's good.
that was, yeah, what do you how would you answer that, since you have more depth in the subject?
Sure. To whom much is given, much is required. Every blessing that I get, I'm responsible to steward it well. I'm responsible to, I got the gift of Christ, right? I've received the gift. I got to steward that well. I can't just be out here saying that I am, I've received Christ in my life. He's Lord of my life. I'm devoted to him and still do all of the things that I did pre Christ. I can't be out here. I shouldn't be out here. I should be living the fruits of the Spirit. I'll say it that way, which would makes me responsible with the blessing that I've received of having eternal life being with Christ. My job and my responsibility, my ability to respond to Christ in my life is I have changed. He's what's the word? He's like pushed me to change. He's caused me to change by his love and drawn me towards him. So I want to do things different, in a different way than I would before. If I was a liar, I don't want to lie. If I was a manipulator, a stealer, a cheat, whatever the case may be, I should be drawing closer to him and being more like him with the fruit of the Spirit. So that, to me, that's why scripture ties blessings. They connect blessing and responsibility. I should be more responsible with the gift that I've been given. And that's even with our talents, because our gift and talents are without repentance. It means no matter how I do it, I could be gifted with the ability to lead and have influence. Right? If I manipulate people with it, it's still my gift. It doesn't mean that I won't have it. It just means I didn't do well with it. I didn't
Right.
steward it well. I used it for negative versus positive. So that's when I hear about blessings and responsibility. How am I making an impact for the good, when it comes to Christ and it comes to blessings and responsibility?
And
Yeah.
with blessing and responsibility, you said the talents, right? Because I think a lot of people fall into, this is what I'm good at,
Mm,
right? And I think that is, they fall into their comfort,
sure.
right? Let's say, maybe, have you ever confused your comfort with calling? Or do you have an example of how people confuse comfort and calling?
Yeah. So personally, I'm good at carpentry. Like I'm good at it. I can build a house from ground up. Like I can build almost anything with my
Mm.
hands. But that's not my purpose. I'm not gonna reach to people in that way. And I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get this company. I'm gonna build this. And I'm not saying people are not supposed to do that. This is me, right? Don't get it twisted. I'm not telling you if you're good at that, you shouldn't be doing it. I'm not saying that. However, for me personally, I'm good at that. I'm good at driving. Like I can drive any kind of vehicle. Doesn't
Mm.
matter, stick, all of that, but I don't care. I can drive anything. So So I started, guess what? I started a transportation company. That didn't mean I was supposed to be doing that. Does that make sense? I didn't want,
Yeah.
so for me personally, the things that I thought I was good at and that I could drive for hours. I can drive cross country 18 hours, no problem. No sleep, just go, whatever. Doesn't matter. I don't have an off switch. My off switch is when it's done, right? Which actually works in our advantage for our business, right? Because
Yeah.
there's no such thing as tired until it's done, until I reach my goal. However, I so I found myself thinking, oh, maybe I'm supposed to be doing this because I'm good at it. And that's not necessarily true. Not always. Right. And now the thing that I know that I'm good at, I'm great with people, right? I'm really good with people. I love that. And I believe that I'm called to people in some kind of way, to lead in some way, shape, form, or fashion. What industry is that? That's the difference. Doesn't really matter what industry, wherever you decide to hang your hat, wherever opportunities that come up, whatever God puts you in, whatever the doors are open, go for it. But know that just because I'm talented at this doesn't mean that's my ultimate purpose. You hear athletes say it all the time. Really good at football, really good at basketball, really good at baseball, whatever the case may be. Their talent is baseball. That doesn't mean they're supposed to use that as a platform to push the thing that their purpose, right? And that ultimately for us, me as a Christian, my whole thing is to bring people closer to Christ, bring people to Him, make disciples.
What would you say for people when it comes to the title with this, right? Effect and the impact that we have on people. Because there's a lot of talk of like the youth are lost, right? Which I particularly don't think the youth are any worse than they've ever been. We're just dealing with new problems. What would you say for the people that think or advocate that youth are lost and they don't have an effect, they don't have a purpose? How do people, because like you said, the purpose versus effect, how do you people should direct what effect they want to have in the world, what impact?
Hmm.
How would you craft that for somebody that is trying to choose what to do?
Yeah, one, I'll tell you, if you're a Christian, I tell you one thing. If you're not a Christian, I'll tell you something different. To be honest, because my relationship is through Christ. For personal reasons, I'm going to do the same thing that Jesus did to find out His purpose, and He was in Scripture. That's where they found Him at 12, 13, reading the Scriptures. Not that He didn't know, but He wouldn't have to go back and read Isaiah, what the prophet said about Him and the things that He was supposed to do. And guess what? He found His purpose, and He ultimately walked that thing out. Right. So for a young person today who people would say were lost, all of that is leadership. That's where it starts with leadership. So if you think your kids are lost, it's because you're not leading them in the right way. Sorry, I know that hurts. That's tough to hear. And I agree wholeheartedly because I'm like, man, my kids need to know exactly what they're like. What is it what you want? And I'm constantly asking, what do you think God's called you to? What do you want to do? Let's figure that thing out. How do we get there? Right. So I personally believe that the youth are lost because we're not leading them in that way. Right. That's just me. So if you want to find it, what purpose is, let's just say you're not in Christ. How do we find purpose? Usually the thing that frustrates you about everybody else is something that you're supposed to help impact. Milet says it this way: the thing that you're most qualified to help those what you've been through. And if I'm frustrated in an area, like I have this thing for kids and I have this thing for single moms. I got this thing for whatever, right? I got this thing for, well, why don't people know about money? Why don't people, man, I love how houses are built. I love providing an opportunity for folks. I love building a business. I love doing this. I love doing that. Whatever that thing is that you like, just like, I'll get upset when it's not done in a way that's good. Probably somewhere around your purpose, right? And the impact that you're supposed to have. It could be, right? Just so you could think about that. That's what I would tell people to look at.
Dang, dude, you just confirmed where I should have my effect. Which again, a non-spiritual aspect, that's really good because man, this is really good. I'm getting my own session here. It's like I've always had frustration with people's money. It drove me nuts. That's really cool.
It's good.
That's really good. And I think that, yeah, and so many people ignore it.
We do.
They ignore it for money. They ignore it for fear, which I mean, I'm thinking of a specific person right now, and I'm like, if only they found where they need to have the effect because they're so kind, good, and giving, but they're stuck on a survival mode and whatever, trying to, they're just focused on feeding their family, so to speak, right? And it's like nothing wrong with that, but they haven't found their effect, their impact.
That's good.
Wow. Yeah, man, that's really good. What is something that you believe that you've been, or let's say not have been, but are being successful that is bigger than you? That you can maybe, again, like let's say everything could go wrong tomorrow. But right now you believe that if you continue on this track, it will be bigger than you.
Yeah. So a couple things. One, what we do.
Yeah.
right? I think, and I do believe that what we're doing here, even this YouTube thing, because we never set out to be like, we want to make a bunch of money. We just want to make an impact. Whether
Sure.
that's one person, two people, 100 people, millions of people, we want to make an impact there. So I do believe as long as we're able to continue curating this and doing that, this is going to lead that. Our business, what we do, right outside of this, I think is going to do that. What Candace and I do with couples, that is definitely going to lead outside of that. And then even in ministry, how we do, when we go to Honduras and do missionary work, that is going to leave a bigger impact than us. Our kids, right? Some
Mhm.
stop right now. I think our kids, not necessarily that they have everything, but I think that they will. My belief is that they will grab hold of whatever it is and push
Yeah.
to the next level. So I do think I have some spaces in my life, and I'm constantly thinking about those things. It's like, how the heck how can I make this last forever? Right? It makes me think,
Yeah.
make it last forever. For those that know that song, right?
Yeah.
Makes me think of that forever. And I want that to have that impact, especially because of who we're tied to, right? Our mentor, directly mentor, he is constantly thinking about, he says in our business, somebody's going to be a president of the United States come from our business, right? As I think about that, then his mentor, who's like a grandparent mentor for us that we're going to see next week, him is like, man, I'm leaving a legacy for the next 300 years for 10 generations of my family, it'll impact forever. And I'm like, dude, it makes me want to do something to have that lasting effect. Because in my family, I can't go back 3 generations.
No.
I mean, I have no idea. I might have 2. I can go back to my dad's. Well, maybe I can go back 3. I know a little bit, but I don't really know. Right. I don't have that. And I would love to be able to go back. So not that I'm so, self-centered that I want to be the guy that everybody remembers in my family. No, sure. But I want to make an impact to where it's like, man, no, we made an impact and changed the legacy so much that 10 years, 10 generations from now, they'll see Candace and I's picture hanging up in their house. Like, hey, they changed it for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Left a legacy. That's what I'm looking forward to in my life in particular. What about you?
I see it in our business, and I'm taking it on also with my family's business, right? I realize, like you said, most of us cannot name our great grandfather, right? I know I don't, right? I might know, kind of remember. I do remember my dad's, but only because he had a funny name. I remember it, but I want to make sure that my kids remember my grandfather, right? And I want to make sure that people remember me, right? So now, in a way, I believe that if I keep doing the things that I'm doing and I do it the right way, I'm gonna be able to leave a mark on those two names. And I think in the modern world, we forgot the value of that. We forgot the value of that. And I mean, everybody knows the Rockefellers. And again, it's not a matter of good, bad, or indifferent, right? For their families, they're huge. Right? We all know John D. Rockefeller. How do we know some families' great, 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 great grandfather, but we don't know ours? This person did something. And again, this is we're not. I don't want to be all inclusive, right? Maybe they were scumbags too, possible, but they did leave a legacy for their family, right? Hopefully, they were much better, but we can't make those judgments. So I think in our business, my grandfather, and I think those are the things that I'm seeing right now because I don't have kids, right? So whenever I have kids, this is all gonna compound on it, and I think that drives into what we want to be known for, and people know that we invested in because, like you said, like the guy that we're gonna go spend time next week, even though I have never spent like as close a time with him, I already know he means a lot to me and how he carries himself, and if anything, if I read a book about him, I know it's a good book. And we cannot say that about a lot of people. You cannot just grab that book and be like, man, that was a good person, you know? And I think that there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Based on what we do, I kind of know the answer to this question already, right? I know you. Where could your skills serve someone else?
Yeah, it's easy for us, but I'm gonna go deeper with it. I think a good example is some of the people that started here but are not here anymore, that have big names, big platforms, right? They took the skills that they had here and they said, I need to make it bigger. Now they're getting handsomely rewarded financially, but it's only because they're talking to more people, only because they're impacting more people. So realizing that whatever you're doing, you could do it at a bigger scale helps, right? Pastors, right? Whatever. If you're really a great pastor, you realize you could do it at a bigger scale. And I'm not saying go open a mega church, but whatever you're doing, it can be bigger. And the how, I'm sure it exists because it can always get bigger. I mean, what is it that Bob Proctor says, that God is always for growth, something of that effect. He's always for growth. So God is rarely trying to make us smaller and diminish us. So whatever we are doing, you could do it. It can be done at a bigger scale. And I would say that I think is a big realization that I think majority of people could enjoy when it comes to the effect they want to have.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the quick thing is like the owner of Waste Management. I'm gonna be world's greatest trash picker upper. Watch me. And they did it, right? And it's incredible company. But
Mhm.
they're world's greatest trash man, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how they did that. I heard the story before. I was like, good Lord, it's insane. Also
Yeah.
super cool. Okay. Oh, and with that, right, when it comes to impact, I think about the problems that you're positioned to solve as well, to help people solve.
Mm.
Thinking about that, like the impact, like some people is like, oh, I just want to make $1 million. Okay, great. But what problem are you going to solve for people to be able to get this $1 million? What are you going to solve? What product? What service? What are you going to provide? Is it something that you've been through? Is it, whatever the case may be, to help you get to the next level, to help you have the impact and the effect on people that you want to have. And that's powerful. So
Yeah.
I like it. That's really
Yeah.
good for practicality purposes. It's really
For
good.
sure. And I would say just to wrap this up, again, we like leaving you guys with some questions. And I think it's very important to think of this is that if your life ended today, what impact would remain? Right. And I
Mm,
think that is a day-to-day question,
mm,
right? Who are you intentionally investing in right now? And if your only answer is you're kidding your wife, excellent. It doesn't have to be big. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And what is one action you can take this week to create impact? And pick it and go pursue it with ambition, right? There's some questions for the end of the week, and I think that we're done with Prosper Eight.
yeah, man. Well, you know, prosper in spirit, build with purpose, and I say live with impact, right?
Yeah.
And man, your life will be, the impact will be filled with eternity. It'll be filled forever. So it's super good. Happy for every last person. Listen, like, comment, subscribe, send this to your friends, comment on there. If you don't like it, tell us what you don't like. If you want
Yeah.
us to leave some more stuff, if you have more topics that you want us to dive back into, we're more than willing to do that. And it's been a pleasure. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Jaime, I turn it over to you, brother.
Let's go. All right, guys, we're going to end this, and we'll be back next week with something new and fresh. Let's get it. You guys have a good one.